Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 9 articles in this episode for you, and all the URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience. First article that we have here is off of teaparty.org, and it says, Antifa leftist group is selling concealed knives site for slicing conservatives. So originally came from the Gateway Pundit, and it says, this should come as a warning to anybody who Antifa sees as a threat to their communist, anarchist, violence-driven message. And it has a picture of these blades that they're selling on their website. It says, following the recent violent mobilization of Antifa in Berkeley, the domestic terror organization has begun to embrace violence as part of its message. There is a visible evil to the entity, and sadly it is comprised of young Americans who have adopted a violent Marxist mentality. They are now selling small concealed knives and are actively promoting violence in an effort to fight perceived fascism. And it shows these knives. They're credit card knives. I don't know if you've seen the credit card knives or not, but they fold up like a credit card. So it'll fit right in your wallet, and then you unfold it to make a knife. It says Antifa is a fashionable movement for college progressives who have been brainwashed by their professors, and now the brainwashing has made its way to the distribution of knives and the promotion of weaponized violence. Democrats, with their resist or hashtag resist slogan, are encouraging this type of behavior, and they refuse to condemn Antifa. The concealed knives for sale have since been removed, but the internet is forever, and we have captured screenshots of it. A petition was started in February to declare Antifa as a terrorist organization. They were throwing M80s, glass bottles, and bricks at Trump supporters in Berkeley, and now they're selling concealed knives to be used. They must be dealt with. And it has some tweets with pictures of the knives in them in this article. The next article I have for you is off of teaparty.org. It says, breaking tragic news about President George H.W. Bush. Let's see, this came from the Angry Patriot originally. It says, our hearts go out to the Bush family during this time. Former President George H.W. Bush has been admitted into Houston Methodist Hospital to be treated for pneumonia by KHOU. Fortunately, his pneumonia has been described as mild. However, at 92 years old, even the mildest case of pneumonia could be potentially deadly. Our former president is under constant watch. Tim McGrath, Bush's spokesman, stated, President Bush is in very good spirits and is being held for further observation while he regains his strength. This is Bush's second visit to Houston Methodist Hospital for a case of pneumonia. The former president spent 2 weeks there in January of this year, around the time of his 72nd wedding anniversary. Thus far, Bush has been able to pull through everything that's been thrown at him in regard to illness. Even McGrath is hopeful, saying he's already well on the path to recovery. Bush is already regulated to a wheelchair as his Parkinson's disease continues to worsen with each year that goes by. However, that hasn't stopped him from living life to its fullest. The younger generation may not remember our former president who held office in the White House from 89 to 93, but we do. We also remember his wonderful son, the brave cowboy-esque George W. Bush. The Bush family has done a lot for our great nation, and as patriots, it's our duty to keep their legend alive and educate the younger generation. The mainstream media and liberal history classes haven't always painted a good or even fair picture of the Bush family, so it's our job to tell the real story. Say a prayer for the great George H.W. Bush tonight and share one of your favorite Bush memories with someone younger than you. You'll be happy you did. So there's that article. The next one is off of BizPac Review. And it says, new study confirms worst state economics are all run by Dems. bottom feeders voted for. State runs by Democrats have the worst economic, try that again, that whole line. Holy smoke. States run by Democrats have the worst economies, according to a new study entitled Rich States, Poor States. A report published Tuesday by the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, shows that the states run by Republicans, such as Utah and Indiana, have the strongest economies. In contrast, many of the worst performing states are run by Democrats, meaning Dems control either the governor's office, the legislature, or both. The 10th edition of Rich States, Poor States was co-authored by economist Dr. Arthur Lapper, ALEC Vice President Jonathan Williams, and Heritage Foundation Fellow Stephen Moore. The report has been used by lawmakers as a guide for measuring the economic comprehensive or competitiveness of their states since 2008. The bottom 10 states, including dead last New York, are run by Democrats. Interestingly, all 10 bottom feeders went for Hillary Clinton during the presidential election, and it gives a list of the states. Number 1 was Utah. Let's see. All right, okay, they give a list of all 50 states, and they start, with number 1 being Utah, 2 is Indiana, 3 is North Carolina, 4 is North Dakota, 5 is Tennessee, 6 is Florida, 7 is Wyoming, 8 is Arizona, 9 is Texas, 10 is Idaho, 11 Virginia, 12 South Dakota, 13 is Nevada, 14 is Wisconsin, 15 is Colorado, 16 Oklahoma, 17 is Georgia, 18 New Hampshire, 19 Ohio, 20 is Michigan, 21 Alabama, 22 Mississippi, 23 Arkansas, 24 Missouri, 25 Massachusetts, 26 is Kansas, 27 South Carolina, 28 Louisiana, 29 Iowa, 30 Alaska, 31 West Virginia, 32 Nebraska, 33 Kentucky, 34 Maryland, 35 New Mexico, 36 Rhode Island, 37 Delaware, 38 Pennsylvania, 39 Montana, and now here we go, 40 Washington, 41 Oregon, 42 Maine, 43 Hawaii, Illinois, 45 Minnesota, 46 Connecticut, 47 California, 48 New Jersey, 49 Vermont, and 50 is New York. Utah, which has long had a Republican governor and legislature, grabbed the number 1 spot as the state with the best economic outlook for the 10th consecutive year. A separate study of the 100 most dangerous cities in the United States shows that the most crime-ridden cities are run by Democrats. Democratic mayors preside over 16 of the top 20 cities with the highest violent crime rates, according to Neighborhood Scout, which compiled the report. Chicago, which had a Democratic mayor since 1927, is the murder capital of the United States, while Chicago is the nation's 3rd largest city. It had 762 homicides in 2016, more than New York and Los Angeles combined. Chicago's jaw-dropping murder rate is higher than it has been in 20 years. The alarming statistics caused by President Trump to serve notice that he'll send federal reinforcement to Chicago if the killings continue at this rate. Even though the Chicago mayor, Rahm Emanuel, a longtime Obama ally, can't keep his city's tax-paying citizens, he has reassured illegal aliens that they are safe from deportation. The next article I have is off of BizPac Review. And it says, Dianne Feinstein met with jeers, boos, and shouts as hometown crowds turn on her at a rowdy town hall. While the mainstream media's pack mentality has kept eyes focused on Republicans facing rough town hall meetings, it seems Democrats have not fared so well either. Apparently, Democrats have been at the receiving end of constituent frustration, as well as judging from Senator Dianne Feinstein's meeting in San Francisco on Monday. And there's some video on this if you want to watch it. Tweet goes out saying tensions between open aggression and civil dialogue is palpable at Dianne Feinstein Town Hall in San Francisco this morning. Another one says, protesters outside Dianne Feinstein's Town Hall this morning in San Francisco, they say Feinstein isn't doing enough to oppose Trump. The crowd drowned out California Democrat with boos and shouts, jeering at the 83-year-old senator and yelling at her to retire. Her hometown of San Francisco crowd seemed to think Feinstein was not left-wing enough for the party and has failed to stand up to President Donald Trump and his administration. She had to pause the contentious meeting at one point, asking how many in the audience wanted her to continue and how many wanted to rabble-rouse. Signs held up by the anti-Trump group Indivisible declared "Retire Feinstein." The San Francisco chapter of the group even pushed back on Twitter against the senator, who has held her seat since 1992. Feinstein's own Twitter account was silent on the town hall. And there's a lot of tweets in this if you want to pull them up to read those yourself. The next one's off of BizPac Review. It says, Democrats propose another self-defeating bill in ridiculous attempt to remove President Trump from office. It's the longest of long shots, but the Democrat congressman, rather than finding a message to resonate with his base, thought of a new way to desperately attempt to have President Trump removed from office. Oregon Representative Earl Blumenauer filed a bill during the House's April recess that would give power to former presidents and vice presidents in concert with the sitting vice president to remove a president from office if they deemed he or she unfit, the Hill reported. It is hard to imagine a better group to work with, the vice president, to examine whether the president is able to discharge the duties of the office. When there are questions about the president's ability to fulfill his or her constitutional responsibilities, it is in the country's best interest to have a mechanism in place that works effectively, the Oregon representative wrote in a statement. The bill is in response to concerns some have over the 25th Amendment, which states that the vice president assumes the role of the president if the sitting president resigns, is removed from office, or dies. But some feel the amendment doesn't account for a president with a mental incapacity. Another way a president can be removed is if the vice president and a majority of the cabinet can also deem a president unfit to serve, but Blumenauer is afraid that wouldn't be effective if the president fired the cabinet. Because the cabinet can be fired by the president, there is a natural bias that would make them reluctant to acknowledge the president's inability to serve. It's time to revisit and strengthen the amendment and make sure there is a reliable mechanism in place if the president becomes unable to discharge the powers of duty of office, he said. The Democrat representative expressed his concerns about the 25th Amendment in February, citing what he called erratic behavior by President Trump. Apparently, Blumenauer forgot how Harry Reid's short-sighted nuclear option exploded in Democrats' faces. What makes him think that such a measure wouldn't come back to haunt a Democrat president in the future? And there's a bunch of tweets about that here if you want to pull those up and read that. The next here is off of Western Journalism. It says, New York Governor Cuomo emerges as early favorite for Democrats in the 2020 race. Remind us what presidential sounds like. Let's see here. Just to scroll a little bit. It says, although the race to become, whoops, I just want to scroll a little bit, hamster. Although the race to become the Democratic presidential nominee in 2020 is barely out of the starting gate, some are putting their money on New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. As reported by Western Journalism, Cuomo last month hired two Florida-based fundraisers in what was seen as a preliminary step at a national campaign. The Long Island political consultant Michael Dodenczak called Cuomo clearly one of the frontrunners for the Democratic Party. A door that seemed to be closed for Andrew Cuomo has opened widely. If Hillary Clinton had been elected president, he would have been shut out from running for 8 years, said Dodenczak. Recently concluded the budget negotiations that included a plan to offer free State University of New York tuition to qualifying students who commit to staying in New York State after graduation. Hillary Clinton showered praise on Cuomo. I'm here today to reinforce what the governor has accomplished. He is absolutely right. Education and training are the future, Clinton said when she appeared with Cuomo at an event to promote the program. This was a good budget politically for Andrew Cuomo, said Stephen Greenberg of the Siena College Polling Institute. He will make the argument that it has nothing to do with politics, but there is that old cliche, good government is good politics. In this case, the governor can claim both. Is he positioning himself to be as a liberal who can speak to a national audience? Said Karen Hinton, a former aide. Within the state, Cuomo's possible candidacy has received many high-profile endorsements. He reminded us what presidential sounds like, activist Al Sharpton has said. I have to see who was in the race, but right now, whoever's in would have some catching up to do. I don't want to be the first one out there, but I can't make it more clear. I cannot think of anyone at this time who's better qualified, said Representative Charles Rangel, Democrat of New York. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Democrat of New York, said Cuomo has as governor and would be a great candidate for 2020. The next article is off of BizPac Review, and it says, the immaturity is astounding. 16-year-old annihilates unhinged adults who shouted down GOP town hall. Another weekend and another raunchous town hall attended by leftists who only want to disrupt. This time it is in California, where the so-called adults at the event were more immature than children. California Republican Congressman Doug LaMalfa held his town hall on Saturday, but faced a hostile crowd who yelled, hooted, and disrupted the congressman's attempt to speak to the crowd. The din raised by the protesters was so disruptive that at one point, LaMalfa urged the crowd to exercise some self-control before temporarily walking off stage. He soon returned after regaining his composure and tried again to address the unruly crowd. Protesters went on to scream that LaMalfa had a closed mind and screamed about health care. But one teenage attendee, 16-year-old Grayson Reynolds, slammed the adult protesters who attended only to thoroughly disrupt the proceedings. I think the immaturity is astounding, he said. Reynolds said LaMalfa held a question and answer at his high school where the meeting was much more civilized. Day and night, it's hard to believe that these people are grown adults and those people, the people at my high school, are children. You'd think it was the opposite, Reynolds told CBS News. Others who attended agreed with the young man and slammed the loud protesters for their unhinged conduct. It's very enlightening and disturbing to experience this firsthand, Denise Cully told the media. I'm appalled, said Republican voter Linda Agee. You can disagree, but you can be decent to each other. And there is video of this in that article if you want to see it. The next one is off of Breitbart. It says tax day justice. DOJ investigation of Lois Lerner called for by Ways and Means chairman. The chairman of the powerful House and Ways and Means Committee called on the Department of Justice to review evidence that Lois Lerner broke the law to target Americans for their political beliefs. The request comes after DOJ refused under the Obama administration leadership to investigate allegations of wrongdoing by the former IRS exempt organizations division director. Ways and Means Committee Chairman Kevin Brady, Republican of Texas, joined by Tax Police Subcommittee Chairman Peter Rossum, Republican of Illinois, sent a letter to U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions requesting an investigation into allegations that Lerner used her division's power to target American citizens' applications for nonprofit status or political action committees based upon the citizens' political beliefs. Taxpayers deserve to know that the DOJ's previous evaluation was not tainted by politics, the two chairmen wrote in their letter obtained by Breitbart, Texas. We respectfully request the Department of Justice to take a fresh look at the evidence presented in the attached referral in order to restore taxpayers' trust in the IRS. Brady and Rossum sent information to the U.S. Attorney General disclosing findings of a 3-year investigation by their committee that uncovered evidence of willful misconduct on the part of Ms. Lerner. Despite this fact, for what many believe were purely partisan reasons, the prior administration refused to review Ms. Lerner's misconduct, they explained. In particular, the committee found that Ms. Lerner used her position to improperly influence IRS action against conservative organizations, denying these groups due process and equal protection rights under the law. The committee also found she impeded official investigations by providing misleading statements in response to questions from the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration. The letter to Sessions continues. Finally, Lerner risked exposing and may actually have disclosed confidential taxpayer information in apparent violation of Internal Revenue Code Section 6103 by using her personal email to conduct official business. In August of 2016, Breitbart News reported that House voted to hold Lerner in contempt of Congress for her refusal to testify before a House Oversight Committee hearing in May of 2013. The article disclosed information contained in 302 FBI documents revealing possible illegal conduct by Lerner and others in the IRS. Commenting on Obama's Justice Department failure to take action, the letter tax chairman states, February 2014, while the investigation department is ongoing, President Obama stated, jumped on me here, that there was not a smidgen of corruption at the IRS, preempting a fair investigation in which he had political equities. In April of 2014, the Ways and Means Committee posted a timeline of Lerner's alleged misconduct while serving in the IRS. January the 21st of 2010, Citizens United ruling says Supreme Court issues a ruling in Citizens United case which would lead to an active campaign by Democrats against conservative groups, a campaign Lerner was well aware of and reacted to. January 27th of 2010, President Obama goes on the attack. In his State of the Union address, President Obama states, with all due deference to separation of powers, last week the Supreme Court reversed a century of laws that I believe will open the floodgates for special interests, including foreign corporations, to spend without limit in our elections. I don't think American elections should be bankrolled by Americans' most powerful interests or worse, by foreign entities. In March through April of 2010, it says IRS targeting begins. According to TIGTA, the IRS's Determinations Unit began searching for other requests for exemption involving the Tea Party, Patriots, 912, and IRC 501c4 applications involving political sounding names, We the People or Take Back the Country. September 26th of 2010, White House steps up attacks. David Axelrod, then senior advisor to President Obama, referred to Crossroads GPS and similar groups as front groups for special interests. These are front groups for foreign-controlled companies which would have been banned under the bill that we put through Congress, and they don't want the American people to know, and the American people ought to be alert to that. October the 12th of 2010, Democrat leaders join the attack. Assistant Majority Leader Dick Durbin urges the IRS to investigate the tax status of Crossroads GPS and other organizations though no other organizations were named. October 19th of 2010, Lerner on alert. Speaking to students at Duke University, Lois Lerner states that 501c4 organizations were spending money on campaign activities in the wake of Citizens United decision and claimed everybody is screaming at us, fix it now before the election. February of 2011, Lerner calls conservatives dangerous. Starts to take control. Lois Lerner sends emails to the IRS employees. Tea Party matter very dangerous, since he should probably not have these cases. March 24th of 2011, Democrats step up attacks. DCCC launches website to expose donors of Crossroads GPS. June 3rd of 2011, congressional inquiries begin. Chairman Camp sends letter to Commissioner Schulman inquiring about IRS targeting taxpayers who donate money to conservative groups, as well as information regarding audits of 501c4 organizations. June 19th of 2012, White House continues to attack. President Obama's lawyer demands that Crossroads GPS disclose its donors, saying in a complaint to the Federal Election Commission that the group is plainly a political committee subject to federal reporting requirements. February the 1st of 2012, Democrats continue to attack. National Public Radio reports that Senate Democrats, led by Senator Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York, want to investigate groups such as Crossroads GPS. July 10th of 2012, Lerner's mindset revealed. Lois Lerner, in response to a story sent to her regarding the complaint to the FEC against Crossroads GPS, replies, "Perhaps the FEC will save the day." July 17th of 2012, Lerner starts to prepare cover story. Lerner set up an email to Holly Paz and Nicole Flax offering comments on a talking point that referred to an uptick in political advocacy cases drafted for then Deputy Commissioner for Services and Enforcement Steve Miller. However, Lerner admits that I know we don't have published SOI stats to support such a claim. July 27th of 2012, Democrats attack again. Senator Carl Levin, Democrat of Michigan, sends another letter to the IRS regarding Crossroads GPS and others, seeking a probe and status. December 14th of 2012, IRS leaks. Crossroads GPS's application is leaked to ProPublica through the tax-exempt status of the group had not been determined a violation of federal law. November the 2nd of 2012, Lerner misleads TIGTA. Lerner sends misleading response to TIGTA investigatory audit questionnaire. January 4th of 2013, Lerner leaps into action. Lerner organizes a meeting with Democracy 21 and also with the Office of Chief Counsel and the Office of Tax Policy at the Department of the Treasury for January the 4th. This begins a series of specific actions by Lerner that targets only conservative groups. January 4th of 2013, Lerner pressures review committee. Lerner inquires to the status of Crossroads and finds that the group had not been selected for audit. She subsequently sent an email to the Director of Examinations in Dallas, Texas, Nanette Downing, demanding to know why the group had not yet been audited. In her email to Downing, she notes that she wants all moves regarding Crossroads to be coordinated in D.C. January the 24th of 2013, Lerner ponders job for Obama organization in response to a news story about the formation of the President's Organization for Action, a 501c4. Lerner remarked to EO Senior Technical Advisor Sharon Light, "Oh, maybe I can get the D.C. office job." 2013, Lerner attempts to influence independent appeals process. In an email to Chief of IRS Appeals, Lerner offers unsolicited advice on the independent appeals process, notwithstanding a prohibition against such contract. 2013, Lerner misleads public. At an American Bar Association function, Lois Lerner, director of the IRS Exempt Organizations Division, publicly apologizes for what she claims were inappropriate actions by the Cincinnati office of the IRS to subject conservative groups to extra scrutiny. Despite the lengthy report from the Ways and Means Committee, the DOJ took no action. It is clear that when the DOJ announced in October of 2015 that it would not bring charges against Lois Lerner, the agency was following President Obama's signal on how he wanted the investigation to be handled. Brady and Roscom concluded in this new letter to the DOJ. The two committee chairmen requested a new investigation to look into the matter in order to restore taxpayers' trust in the IRS. Well, they're going to have to do more than investigate to restore taxpayers' trust, I'm afraid. The next one we have here is off of Breitbart, and it's the final one in this episode. It says, photo finish in Georgia, special election. Democrat falls short, runoff with GOP candidate. It was a photo finish in the jungle primary special election in Georgia's 6th congressional district on Tuesday to select a replacement for Representative Tom Price, Republican of Georgia, punctuated by unusual technical reporting delays from Fulton County, the largest county in the district. In the early hours of Wednesday morning, 30-year-old Democratic candidate John Ossoff fell just short of the 50% plus one vote total he needed to avoid a June runoff with the GOP's Karen Handel, the former Georgia Secretary of State, who finished in the distant second. CNN declared the race runoff between Ossoff and Handel shortly after midnight. At 12:09 a.m., President Trump tweeted, "Despite major outside money, fake media let me try it again. Despite major outside money, fake media support, and 11 Republican candidates, Big R win with runoff in Georgia. Glad to be of help." With 177 of 210 precincts reporting as of 12:25 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday morning, the Associated Press results had Ossoff in first place with 49% of the vote, followed by GOP's Karen Handel in second at 19%, and GOP's Bob Gray in third place and out of the runoff election with 10%. Ossoff did very well in early voting, garnering 61% of those ballots from Cobb, DeKalb, and Fulton County. Strong early voting results are usually an indication of organization and preparation on the part of the campaign. However, as the evening wore on, Ossoff's margin continued to diminish. By 11 p.m. Eastern, with 113 of the 210 precincts reporting, Ossoff had 50.3% of the vote. Handel was in distant second with 18%. All precincts in Cobb and DeKalb County had reported by then, but only 19 of the 116 precincts in Fulton County had reported. The evening was set up for a dramatic finish, since only a few months earlier Hillary Clinton had won the precincts in Fulton County within the 6th congressional district with 48% of the vote. At 11:05 p.m., Decision Desk headquarters broke the news on Twitter that Fulton County was experiencing technical difficulties reporting the vote results. From our on-site reporter, Fulton County is having technical difficulties. They are on the phone with tech support. I am not joking, said Drew McCoy. Then at 11:35 p.m., Decision Desk headquarters added this tweet saying, one card out of 100, or try this again, one card out of hundreds created an error. They need to manually go through them and re-upload everything in Fulton. Then at 11:40 p.m. came this tweet. Again, we all get it. Hashtag GA06, almost certainly going to a runoff between Ossoff and Handel, with Fulton screwed up, waiting until they, and ... Finally, at 11:50 p.m. came this. They found the card with the error. By 11:55 p.m., with 177 of 210 precincts reporting, Ossoff's vote dipped below a majority to 49%, with the GOP's Handel moving up slightly to 19% second place position. At 2:01 a.m., Decision Desk headquarters called the election a runoff between Ossoff and Handel, a full 20 minutes before CNN made the call. The tweet came out saying 33 precincts left in Fulton, but over for Ossoff, clearing 50% tonight. Remainder will probably push him down to 46%. Establishment around the country had hoped to secure an outright victory for Ossoff in this suburban Atlanta congressional district, won by only 1% in November. Among progressive activists and the liberal media was that Ossoff's victory in this district would be an early indicator of an impending anti-Trump wave that could turn the House of Representatives back to Democrat control in the 2018 midterm elections. The far-left political machine raised huge amounts of money from the liberal strong points around the country, in New York, San Francisco, and Hollywood, to bankroll Ossoff's campaign, with more than $8.3 million raised in the first 3 months of his campaign. Ossoff used these funds to flood the airwaves on television and radio with anti-Trump messages and raise an estimated army of 3,500 get-out-the-vote canvassers, whom the campaign claimed knocked on over 100,000 doors. Ossoff was aided by the fact that The Democratic establishment rallied around him and not the 4 other Democrats in the crowded field of 18 candidates. Republican resources were split between 11 Republican contenders. The most prolific fundraising candidate among them raised less than $500,000, not even 10% of the amount Ossoff raised. The Republican establishment, initially caught flat-footed, ended up spending over $5 million in advertising against Ossoff in the last weeks of the campaign, but it never caught up in the all-important ground game, which typically consists of a positive voter engagement on behalf of a single specific candidate rather than a negative attack on a single candidate. In retrospect, Republicans failed to recognize the unique opportunity the jungle primary provided Democrats, who focused all their support behind one candidate. Republican leadership could have made a similar choice from among their 11 candidates, but did not do so. They did, in the end, get some help from the Republican establishment in Washington. Republicans in Georgia sounded the alarm several weeks ago, prompting $2 million in spending from the NRCC to help boost Republican turnout and counter Democrats' energy. The Congressional Leadership Fund, the super PAC aligned with House leadership, also dumped in $3 million of its own money and dispatched on-the-ground staffers to the district, Politico reported. Speaker Ryan, however, who has the responsibility to support Republican candidates in the House, did not see the risk of a Democratic victory in Georgia until it was too late. In fact, he was not even in the United States on Tuesday. Instead, he was in Europe leading a bipartisan congressional delegation. Shortly after midnight, Ryan's office issued this statement: "Congratulations to Karen Handel for running a successful campaign and advancing to the runoff. Karen Handel is a proven leader who is committed to solving our nation's problems and meeting our biggest challenges head on. Karen Handel will be an effective representative for Georgia's 6th congressional district, like my good friends Tom Price and Newt Gingrich, and I'm looking forward to helping her win this election on June the 20th. In Karen Handel, Georgians will have a dedicated public servant representing them in Washington, D.C., and someone who understands how to get the job done. Her record of getting results for the Peach State is exactly why I'm proud to fully support Karen Handel's candidacy for Congress." So there you have everything that I know in the second episode. And I have one more episode to follow. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up. Share it on your social media so everybody stays informed. And don't forget to subscribe. And that way you'll stay informed. We'll see you in the next episode.